Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Caffeine and Calamities. I am your host, DM Chaos, and with us today, we're going to have a special guest. DM Order is going to be here as well. Um, everybody that's here, sit back and relax. This is not a game. This is just us talking and catching up and getting for you to get to know us a little bit better. Tonight's caffeine is classic Mountain Dew. Can't go wrong. Um, great. So let's start with recapping since our last episode where we were at. Since then, we've had two episodes of the Steam Age game. Um, for those of you who haven't caught up on that and want a little bit of spoiler on it, the last two episodes we've been in the Fire Realm still. We finished up in the Grand Bazaar and started working our way to um, the fire forges of the fire giants under the direction of the slivers, with the goal being to basically blow them up so the slivers could capture their souls and save them. Um, along the way, while we were boating over there, got attacked by de devils, which we were able to fend off. And it sounds like the other heroes were also able to fend theirs off. And then when we did arrive at the forges, we set our bomb, and then we had a minute before it was going to go off so that we had to defend the bomb. And after some intense fighting, some creative use of skills and abilities, we were able to defend the bomb and get out of there just in time. But that wasn't before the Gray Flame showed up and made an appearance with Erlon. So we'll see where that ends up with us. But next week, I think we're moving on and getting ready to prepare for our next mission, which we heard may be in the water domain. Um, but we also leveled up our character, so that game we're now level 13. Uh, so we will be everybody's getting stronger, which means the bad guys also get stronger. So on that note, DM Order, do you have anything that I missed that was important?
No, you guys had you covered everything very, very well. I think the only other thing is it's a month of downtime. So the group now has next session about roughly 30 days before their next mission comes up.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll for this show, you'll since we're about every 2 to 3 weeks, when we catch up next time, we'll probably finish that downtime and be well on our way to our next location.
Yep.
Um, so while we have DM Order here today, we're gonna do a couple things. I have some basic interview questions we're gonna do with him, and then afterwards we're gonna do a little DM mind melding to do something fun.
hmm
So let's start with the first question. Order. Why did you start playing D&D, and what made you want to be a DM?
Oh man. So those two questions kind of go a little bit entwining with one another, but let's start with the first one though. What made me want to start playing? It all started back in when I was in law school. I was able to hear a lot of people talk about Dungeons and Dragons. This was back in what, like 2018, 2018, 2019 for it. And it was really it interested me because I've always heard of D&D, and I even heard of D&D when I was in high school. But this is the first time that I actually started getting curious about it. I needed something just entertain me a little bit that was other than reading or writing because I was doing enough of that. So I started looking into some videos for it, and I watched two shows that got me pulled into becoming a big fan. One of them it was a show called The Dungeon Run. The other was Critical Role. Both definitely had their own different like appeals for things, but that's what really started getting me interested in it. start playing a couple games with some other fellow students. And eventually, what happened was that and this is where it answers the second question, no one wanted to be the DM. Everyone wants to be a player, no one wants to be the DM, and I was interested in playing. So I actually jumped right into the deep end. So my first game officially with campaigns and such was as a DM, not as a player. So had in-person games that was in 2020, like right at the beginning of 2020. Then COVID happened, the pandemic happened, and that shut it down. So I was only able to DM for like 3 months at that time, then started going into online DMing, and that's when I met a really great group, and the rest is history. As so, the beginnings of Castles and Calamities took root.
Awesome. Um, Next question. How would you describe your style of DMing?
Definitely over prepare. That is my personal preference for things. It's a security blanket to have everything outlined and everything mapped out that can possibly happen. And even then, there are things that sometimes the players don't exactly do, and I just adapt with it. But that's where for my DM style is that I over prepare so that I can anticipate some elements that may come as well as have justification on what is going on in a particular city, in a particular town, going forward. I usually like to prepare map wise, usually like, or I should say session wise, about 5, 10 sessions ahead of where the players are. So in the last campaign, or in this campaign, I was already preparing like the city of Zarek while the group was in Timoshk. And I already had the basic outline for things, but like fully fleshing it out as it came up for it. So that's my personal style is to expand and build from the top down, everything from the cosmology to the planet, to the continents, to the nations, the histories, the lore, everything, and then bounces right back up because in my mind as a storyteller, I like to see how things look from the top down and then build from the bottom up so that there is some synergy that they both coalesce for it. I have changed things from the that were like grand scale because it no longer made sense when I got to the minute details. And same thing when I had ideas about what the minute details would be, I've changed them based off of the grand design or what players want for things. So even though my style is very much over prepare, I leave room for flexibility to insert characters, insert families, insert dramas or other storylines that different people want to bring up or bring into the story. So that would be my style of DMing for it. It is very much to the idea of order, which, for those who are not familiar, that is my moniker. I am DM Order because I like to make plans and lots of ideas and structure, which is funny because I also like to have that also when I'm a player, but I also do enjoy the chaos that you, DM Chaos, bring in your games when you used to run them for like how I could not predict exactly what was going to happen in a given session. So it was fun.
And and neither could I.
Yeah, that was the running joke. You used to say also like the Discord servers, how we'll see what happens tonight because you would come up with a concept day of, and then it would just go wherever it went for it. So that was liberating when and I do enjoy both styles of gaming for it, the chaos and the order for it. My personal style for as a DM, I need to plan things because I like the operatic, the story arcs, the grand scale of a campaign and adventure. I cannot do same day planning or same day prep because that just makes me anxious because I worry I'm not going to get everything right for it.
Yeah, I will say I remember the first couple times playing with you, and once we got through the first two or three sessions that were planned and organized to like set the setting of the world, And I was like, okay, what do you want to do? And you're like, it wasn't just you, there were several of you guys, but I could see the like confusion on your face, like, what do you mean? There's no plan? Why is there
Yeah.
no plan?
Because that's usually what happens. Like a storyteller and the different styles of storytelling for it. You this is something that I'm very, very, very important for me personally. I think also the same thing for you, DM Chaos. Player autonomy is
Mhm.
so very important because we both have played in a campaign where unfortunately that wasn't really given to us. A
Right.
story was set basically in stone, and no matter what we did, no matter what choices we did, it didn't matter.
Mhm.
So from my perspective, I like to tell a story. Yes, I am a storyteller. I do like to tell a cohesive story that makes sense. I want usually a big operatic storyline of great adventure, political intrigue, a lot of emotional drama for it. But I do respect so very, very much player autonomy. So I kind of create a lot of roads and let everyone pick whatever road they want to take. All roads are going to lead to Rome, so to speak. Every
Right.
road will lead one way or the other to my plot points that I want, but that's the player autonomy that I very much respect. Your games were really fun because there was a lot more player autonomy. Uh, there were no roads. We made the roads, so to
Right.
speak.
There was no roads and there was no Rome. I'll figure we might have started in Rome and we ended up in Tokyo. So,
Yeah, which the chaos that is something I do miss from the chaos for it. Every time I was able to go into your games, I was just able to relax. I think this was one thing that one of our players, Chance in my game, Gwen in your game once said that there's story logic and also cartoon logic.
mhm.
And the cartoon logic was very, very strong in that not saying that this was is a bad thing at all, but the suspension of disbelief of just let the chaos reign and enjoy it very much allows the story to breathe and to feel still realistic because you let go of a lot of inhibitions. Everything then just makes sense.
Right. It's it's hard, and I know you from being on the other side of it, you experience this too, where it's hard to have a little bit of one and too much of the other unless you're going to go all in on one.
Exactly.
Because, like with yours, too much chaos just grinds the tr not the that's it's kind of roady, but not in a bad way, but like grinds the train to a halt because it doesn't fit in the story setting.
Yeah.
It would be like Bugs Bunny being in, Braveheart. Doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
exactly.
Where
It
my
doesn't make sense.
game,
Yeah.
if you took, Maximus from Gladiator and put him in there, it is all seriousness. He kind of fits, but he also, you can tell he's the sore thumb that's sticking out in the in the world.
Yeah. And then this is where it becomes a little tricky because you want to have you want both. You want to have some fun elements and you want to have some serious elements. You also are usually going to have, and this is just the party dynamics, the silly one in the group because
Right,
there's it's just nature is just gonna have that. Someone or two or three is gonna want to be silly for
right.
things. Now, how silly is gonna vary from genre to genre, from game to game, campaign to campaign, but you're always gonna have the silly one, and you're always gonna have the serious one.
Right.
Like who's going to be the parent of the group that's going to kind of like try to corral everything and help get the story, continue the story for things.
Yeah.
So yeah, even when I was playing in your campaigns for things, I kind of did gravitate more towards serious for things, but I still went with the flow for the silly because
Yeah.
that's what it's there for. With
Right.
when I was playing in your campaign, Ali, the Owlkin cleric, very much wanted to protect the group and was very much the healer, the like not artificer because he had all the proficiencies in the different tools, but definitely was trying to was less silly than some of the other members. Again, silly is not a bad thing. We want silly. It would be bland potentially to have just a completely serious story with no elements of whimsy at all in it.
Um, Speaking of, I saw something the other day, and if I find the article, I will send it to you. And it made me think of something that happened in that game with Ali. Um, Apparently, a group of rioters somewhere got a hold of one of the beanbag guns from the police
Hmm.
and started using it to put sandwiches in and launch them into the crowd. So, it,
Okay, so for context for the folks,
yeah,
we have to give context. And I actually remember this because I actually took all the notes and it was everything. So, session one for Acronymic Adventures, the Guild campaign. Uh, the group had just joined the academy. Ollie was very excited. He was given a ring that allowed him to be able to be better tell like with truth telling, and he got it because he rolled so high on his wisdom save that he was able to actually hear and know the headmistress's name because there was a special magic on her name. Nobody, people who had low wisdom checks, wisdom saves, would not be able to remember her name. So here he is. He went to her office thinking he was in trouble, but actually she was giving him kudos and he got a magic item. So he was ecstatic. He was thrilled. He went flying out of the office and was just really, really happy. Also, Ollie was very, very charitable. That was kind of like his MO sort of deal for things. So the house proctor, the basically the guardian of the group that was part of like Orc Hall, gave him some sandwiches. So Ollie went and decided give some sandwiches to the poor and the needy for it. Unfortunately, he rolled a nat one on persuasion for things. I believe it was persuasion.
I think it was just a basic charisma check.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the result of that, where normally if a person rolls a nat one, no one wants to accept the sandwich. People would think it's poisoned, or people would just like get out of here, or someone would throw something at him. The normal reaction for things. Instead, turns to Ollie throwing sandwiches at the poor and the needy because he was too excited. And then that somehow spawned the myth of the sandwich bandit who would throw sandwiches or leave sandwiches as his mark of that this was them, which would escalate to robberies and murders and then full on gang warfare and a criminal syndicate, all from a copycat spirit that took the idea of leaving a sandwich and becoming the main villain of the end of our guild of our times in the guild right before graduation. So that's why for all those folks out there, you see me always groan because it's like the sandwich bandit, the
the
fiasco.
Sandwich Bandit was one of those things that I was, again, cartoon logic, just
Yeah,
making it seem dumb, but then we kept bringing it up, and then it spiraled naturally, and of course had to then be put back into the game in the same sense that it was such an important inside joke amongst the players that we had to make it real canon in the world.
yeah. Which
So,
absolutely that was part of the fun and the humor for it. Like that goes back to like if Maximus from Gladiator was there, he would stick out like a sore thumb if he's not willing to give in to the silly and the whimsy.
exactly.
So, and same thing for like any joke characters that may come in. Yeah, a joke character would be funny in my campaigns and in my world, but they would need to eventually kind of like realize the gravity of the situation. Jokes are fine, jokes are fun. When they start getting in the way of the story or inhibiting other characters from portraying their character in a full and true manner, that's when it starts becoming a problem. There's the ones that start sticking out like a sore thumb with things.
Right. Um, so on that note of characters from other realms and things and other stories, where do you draw your inspiration from as a DM when you're developing a world, a story, anything like that?
Oh, there's a lot of different things. So I love to read. So I've read a lot of different books. I've watched a lot of different shows. And I definitely enjoy a lot of video games for things. So there's just a lot of different sources that I pull from in my mind subconsciously. I believe in psychology, there's a thing where it says like motivation. There's no one single strand when it comes to motivation. Motivation is a complex web of different things that make you motivated to do one thing. Usually there's one top layer for it for the inspiration, but there's just so many things subconsciously for it.
Hmm.
Overall, it just depends on what kind of story I want to tell. When I was telling the story of the Silver Age, the previous campaign for it, I really wanted to tell a story of a Renaissance sort of like resurgence and going beyond just the simple medieval elements, a very close idea of what other storytellers were telling with like sword and sorcery as well as with like high fantasy adventure, dealing with
Hmm.
the gods, dealing with all these things. Versus the Steam Age, I drew a lot of different, similar but different inspirational things. The Eremer Civil War, I very much was influenced by playing Skyrim with the from the Elder Scrolls. The idea of like the Stormcloaks versus the Imperials. Who is truly right in that regard? Both have pros, both have cons for things. The elements of the
Stormcloaks.
Imperials for the Empire. Same thing with like the Alliance versus the Horde from Warcraft, or dealing with the ideas of the what was it? The industry, like a lot of steampunk ideas I wanted to put in while balancing that with magic and mysticism for it. So there was a lot of different higher stakes or higher story elements that I was pulling from in a different manner. The next campaign that I'm planning on doing, um, TBD announced for it, but let's just call it the well, I won't spoil what it'll be called for it, but that campaign is probably going to pull from a lot of Fallout inspiration for it and a lot of World War One or World War Two ideas for it. As time continues to progress in my campaigns, it's going to pull different inspirations when I'm developing those stories. So overall, it just depends on what kind of story I want to tell. That's going to then change what sources of inspiration I'm drawing from when I create this new story for it.
Awesome. One thing you mentioned earlier is that you know so much about the world on the back end when you create it. What is one thing in your world that you know us players are extremely unlikely or will never find out that is like your favorite little piece of information that you kind of did wish the players know, but also at the same time is like if they never find out about it, it's okay.
Yeah. So I built out the different cities. Like in this game, there are three primary cities. Those are Jeddah, Timosh, and Zarek. Those are the big three because they're also in three different regions, different governance, states, if you will. I put also a lot of effort in the surrounding towns. So we are in the later half of the campaign. We're actually approaching the last third of the campaign, and we're going to be doing the Water Dominion arc and then a lot of the different story character arcs for it. I don't think the group's going to go traveling to the small towns or interact with all the towns and all those side quests that I had built in for it.
Mhm.
As an example, there was one town that was overrun by skeletons. So that would have been a prime thing for like Lance to discover and stumble in and be like, oh, time to harvest all these skeletons and just have a lot of them for things. There's another town that was like, hey, we have poachers that are attacking our or attacking the wildlife. The druids are going to ask for help. Or even like some planar rifts by one community saying, hey, there's an encroachment from the Earth Dominion for things. So the towns would be the thing that I would say is one thing that I'm going to miss, especially with how the Giant Wars are probably targeting those towns for things. It's unlikely that you guys will ever circle back to those towns, and they may not even exist anymore, depending on which town you go to, just because of the Giant Wars.
Yeah.
So that would be like those little story elements. They were really fun making them, and they help build the overall structure and the overall communities in the big cities. And that helps me then keep going with the ideas like, okay, I'll take those and I'll put them somewhere else. Maybe I'll recycle these story elements for the next campaign. So that sort of thing makes me excited for it.
Awesome. Side note, do you ever recycle those? Will you ever like move those to the next campaign? Any of
Oh
those
yeah,
story points or okay.
absolutely. Yeah. I might tweak them for
Right.
things.
Well, yeah, because
Uh
they have to make sense with the new timing and world and everything,
exactly.
but
So I that is something that I don't want to say known for, but like just on the back end, I do a lot. A lot of
mhm,
things that I didn't do in campaign one, I put in campaign two. A lot of things that we're gonna miss in campaign two, I will try to put in campaign three. So
gotcha.
and then the same thing with whenever I do like storytelling, if I'm like writing any books or writing different worlds for things, if something doesn't make sense in one world or makes sense to be duplicated in another world, I'll do it. I'm more than okay recycling things as long as it makes sense for it.
Right.
Now,
Uh,
just to quickly flip that question to you, have you done that before also?
Absolutely. And I've even run the same thing, exactly the same in, well, the same story in multiple campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing about that is it comes out different every time.
Yeah. You imagine
Um,
because of the characters and the world, right?
right. So it one that I think I've had you play, but I know like Aaron's done it two or three times now, is the Dryad's Tree. Have
Hmm.
you done that one with me?
Describe just like a couple sentences. Is it the one with the
You find the
uh
lost farm.
yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So I've run that four different times. And every single time it has come out as a completely different story.
Yeah. That
Um,
is.
like the structure is the same, you know, uh, for those of you that haven't seen it or heard me talk about it, it was one that was like one of the first things I ever ran as a DM.
Mhm.
And I've gone back and just rerun it just because it's one of the few things I've ever written down. So I have notes on it. Um, but I've gone back and rerun it a couple times because I wanted to see how it would play out with different groups.
Yeah.
And to me, it's almost like a litmus test with a new group because I can tell how the group's going to behave overall based on how they react to that one um, quest.
Yeah. Especially
Because
the way that
it has the combat, it has moral dilemma, it requires teamwork, and without that, it just kind of has all those elements of what you would, as a DM, provide to your players, all in one fell swoop to kind of get a read on a group on how they're going to handle it.
yeah. And that is something that we both of us strived for when we were first starting Castles and Calamities for these campaigns that we ran and have been running for it is trying to find right players for
Mhm.
it. So we went through a lot of one shots to try to tell how people played together, behaved together, and to get a feel for the groups going forward. So
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, so like when we had the two games running full time, between them we had two, three, four, five new players total,
yes,
and that we'd never played with before, starting these two campaigns. And we posted looking for players and started with a pool of about 40
yeah, I
or
think we had
50.
about 40 or 50 that we got. We then sent a
Right.
survey
Yep.
that cut it down to like 30 people, like actually
Yeah.
filled out the survey well.
Right.
And there we did interviews. That cut it down, I think, to like, well, no, it went from 30 and then we cut it down to like 15 before
Yeah.
the interview.
And then we did interviews and then we ran
Yep.
like three or four one shots.
Four one shots, two for me, two
Or
for you.
yeah. And from there, we cut it down to 5 players.
Hmm.
So like the players you see in our campaigns, a lot of DMs will just open up their table and say anybody comes in, and then you run into problems.
Yeah,
And even with our vetting process, we still had players that didn't fit, didn't work in the long run, which is fine. There's
exactly.
nothing against them. It's just the way the games shake out, and sometimes that happens. And no matter how much you vet somebody, you never know what you're going to run into. But also at the same time, I do think we got some very solid people out of there. And I think those people have become such an important part of the campaigns and stories that it was worth the months of effort on our part to get there. And not
Yes.
just us, not as DMs, but the other original group of us that rolled over from other games. There was, 4 or 5 of us involved in that process, and it was hours and hours and months of time for all of us to get there.
Yeah,
But I do think it was totally worth it for the players we ended up with.
absolutely. That that was a harrowing experience. I think we all agreed we'd never want to do that again. It was good that we did it,
Mhm.
but wow, it was a lot. It was a Herculean effort. I am glad we had like four of us, five of us sharing the load for it
Yeah,
because there was no way we would have been able to do that all just with one person to do the whole vetting process and everything for it. We got great players. Unfortunately, some people had to leave campaigns just because of conflicts and such. But overall, it goes back to with what DM Chaos said that it was worth it. And people, you never know who you get, but it was at least we had enough of a good group that those that did remain were good with things and were able to keep the momentum and the story going for things, despite like players leaving and being asked to leave as well for it.
yeah, agreed. Um, okay, what advice would you give somebody who wants to start DMing?
Hmm. Uh, this is gonna sound counterintuitive coming from me. Just do it. Whatever you want to do, have that story. So if you are the type of person that gets energy building out a huge campaign, do that. It's therapeutic for me to build out everything. If you're the type of person where it seems so daunting because it's like, oh, I hate pantheons of gods, or oh, I hate nation building and world building, and I just want to do one little thing, do that. You don't have
Mhm.
to build out an entire universe. And likewise, you don't have to just focus on one teeny tiny element. Whatever is your comfortable play style. That's the beauty of D&D is that you can do whatever you want. You can build a story however way you want. It goes to the natural way we as humans tell our stories for things. So, whatever kind of story you want to do, try doing it. Try building out whether it's like a one shot idea, do that. If it's more of a world that you want to build out, and then later on add players, absolutely. Whatever it is, break through that layer of hesitation and just start doing it. A lot of times, like even in normal storytelling, writing a book is the first page is the hardest because that's usually when people are like, I don't know where to start. What do I write about? That's going to be usually the hardest. Once you break that barrier, you're going to write and then you're going to edit. That's the natural process. Whenever you write something, you always want to go back and edit. So don't let that hesitation of, oh, whatever I have to do has to be absolutely perfect. Don't let that get in the way. Do not let perfection stop you from telling a story you want to tell. Whether it's a silly story or a serious story, tell the story. One of the things that one of the famous authors once said, through one of his characters in his stories, everything's been done before. All art is recycling different art because that's just the nature of who we are. If we A lot of people are inspired or subconsciously going to be influenced by Lord of the Rings, or they're going to be subconsciously influenced by Game of Thrones, or subconsciously influenced by Critical Role. That's okay. You don't have to make those Goliaths of stories. Tell your story. That would be my feedback for anyone who's interested in DMing, because I jumped in the deep end just doing literally being a DM before I was officially a player with things. If I can do that, I have a lot of faith in other people doing it.
And like he said, what you never know when you're working on something, and even us, that I've been doing this for years at this point, and you have too. I mean, this is our fifth year playing under you.
Mhm.
Um, and I've been DMing since even before we met. So
Yeah.
I will say one of it's always fascinating what the players latch on to. And you may think your idea is like, oh, that's not a great idea. And your players will be like, that's the best game I've ever played. And sometimes you're like, wow, this is going to be epic. My players are going to love it. They're going to be like, yeah, it's fine. But you keep going because you never know what that one thing they're going to find is. Like, I know one of our players constantly talks about this one dumb arc I did in the Singer campaign that I literally made up while I was like passing out drunk.
Oh, is that the life and death world?
Yes.
Yeah, that world. Yeah.
And he still brings that up, and it's been what, 2 years since that happened, 2 or 3 years.
2, 3 years. Yeah.
And he still brings that up all the time. He's like, I every once in a while I'll just think about it. Or somebody will ask me like, what's a cool moment you had in D&D? And he's like, that's my default story is going back to that world.
Hmm.
And that
Hmm.
little it was just it was one episode, one
Yeah.
game
And
in
the
that
sad thing is
campaign.
we didn't record that. That was before we were
Right,
recording things. So it was such a cool idea. A it was basically a story within a story with a twist within a twist within a twist.
right,
Because it was in like 5 sentences. Went to a magic shop that was all books, entered a book which was a world. That world had a unique system of how people were born and how people died that was governed by three arbiters. But even then, the whole system and everything there was a twist that involved the afterlife with things. That's the 5 sentence without spoiling too much for
yeah.
things.
And which is good because I may go back and do that again
Yeah,
and so we can record it. But
yep.
uh, uh,
Hey, you see,
again, recycling
I'm
the ideas like we talked about earlier. But that was just one of those like I I don't even know what triggered it. I'd seen, I think it was a commercial or something stupid like that earlier in the night, and I was hanging out with some friends, having a couple drinks, and I like was just falling asleep, and then I like popped up and wrote a note of Book of Life and Death, and then went to sleep and woke up the next morning and was like, what does that even mean? And then as I started thinking about it, I started, coming because that was like on Friday and our game was on Thursday, but the whole week I was just sitting there thinking about that and trying to figure out what could that mean? What I clearly had a thought, but I don't even remember what my own thought was. So how would Awake Me now figure out what that means and interpret that into something? And then I remember going into that game going, God, I don't have anything good prepared. They're gonna hate this because this is just weird. And and again, like that one player literally brings it up all the time. That is one of his favorite moments ever playing D&D, and D, and he's been playing longer than I think any of us. So
Mhm. Yeah, impromptu stuff sometimes is phenomenal, especially when you hit that gold mine of an idea, and you never know when you're gonna hit it like that for
Yeah.
it. So,
So yeah, but like he was saying, yeah, just if you have an idea, try it. You never know what it's gonna how it's gonna turn out. And it's better just to try it and find out because your own imagination is your worst critic.
exactly. Yeah.
So, all right, speed round.
Speed round.
I'm gonna ask you favorites, and I
Okay,
want you to get them just as quickly as you can.
sure.
What is your favorite class to play?
Wizard.
Awesome. What is your favorite race to play?
Half elf.
What is your favorite spell?
Wish. But or no, that's cop out. That's me thinking of like, oh, high end. Fireball. That is it's amazing.
Classic. It's classic for a
Yep.
reason. What
Yep.
is your favorite magic item to have as a player?
Okay, first thing that comes to mind, Luckstone. That is my go-to with ever always.
Counter to that, what is the one item you fear to ever give your players?
The bag of I think it's the bag of beasts or it's the cursed bag of holding where you pull out animals from it.
Oh, the tan bag, the gray bag, and the
Yeah, that one. Because
yeah,
that's just
the one
like,
I take every time we do a one shot.
yeah. Because I'm like, Jesus, I don't want to have to deal with all the animals.
Yeah, that one's fun. What is your favorite tr like corny trope in D&D?
Save the princess.
What is your least favorite corny trope in D&D?
Least wizards are evil.
Which we
Uh,
have an entire series that we're working our way through on.
It's like the humble wizard who spends years, decades studying. Why are they always the bad guy when bards and sorcerers who are so charismatic, they're the ones who are more likely than not to abuse the powers that they're born or cultivate, especially because they're charmers. It makes more sense for a sorcerer or a bard to go off the deep end than a wizard who's just in the pursuit of knowledge.
That's true, but you have to admit, even how I when I say all wizards are evil, they're like Thanos evil, where it's like you can almost understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, you can always like your storytelling of villains does leave a compelling villain of like you at least give them a why. That is
Right.
also something that's a storytelling, the why. Every character in my mind, the zone, and just me getting on my high horse. I know it's a speed round. Every character should have a motivation. If a villain is evil just for evil's sake, they need to have a reason for being evil for evil's sake. Devil, demon, yeah, random wizard who's just like, haha, I'm going to be evil because I am McEvil face. No, what is the reason? Why would you spend, especially for a wizard, decades or centuries studying and obsessing over this one thing? What is that thing?
Mhm.
So that there, off the high horse.
For those of you that missed um uh all the first All Wizards Are Evil episode, that one was evil because he was bullied as a kid and he liked everybody there, even though they hated him, and he wanted those people in his lives, but he wanted a version where they were nice to him.
Hmm.
And that's what started the entire issue where he
Yeah.
murdered everybody. But he had a reason. It's a
Yeah,
weak reason, but it's still a reason.
it's still, and especially if you go with the crazy route. So here's the thing, you can always go the crazy route.
Right,
You can't go the crazy route all the time. You have
right,
to like I will absolutely accept, oh, crazy wizard. I literally did Lythander, who is a
right,
crazy sensational wizard. Like I will do that. You have to give more complexity to other characters though, or
right.
other wizards. So, but that's
Yeah.
my least favorite trope is evil wizard. I'm like, why are they evil? Like I'm more than happy to have black and white, good and evil, but if you're gonna go with the evil wizard trope, make it interesting.
Right. And what is your favorite monster to fight, and what is your favorite monster to throw at players besides the poop golem?
Okay, so favorite monster to fight. I feel like okay, so first thing that pops in my head, goblins. I hate goblins.
Mhm,
Just killed all the goblins for it. Um, yeah, goblins are probably the one that I hate the most, or I enjoy the most to kill and slay for them. Which one is the one I like to throw the most at players? I would say beholders. They're fun, especially if they're using their flight and they're able to use a lot of their eye beams. They can hit, they are a good creature to throw at any party within certain levels,
mhm.
especially if
Awesome.
you give them minions.
Yeah. Uh, Beholder minions are no bueno.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing we have on our schedule tonight is let's create a monster. Speaking
All
of,
right.
well, we're here, but we're gonna do it chaotically.
Of course.
So I am actually going to close this stupid ad and I'm going to pop up my screen here because this is something I use. I have no affiliation with them. They are not sponsor of this in any way, shape, or form. But tetracube.com is a website that I use um, to um, to generate monster or to build stat blocks for my own monsters. Um,
All right.
do you have dice with you or
I sure
nearby?
do.
Perfect.
Always have dice.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work our way through building a monster, and we're gonna let the dice decide most of the components for us.
Sure, sure.
So let's start with rolling a d6 and tell me what it is.
All right. Give me just one sec, just making sure put all the dice in proper order. All right, D6. Here we go. That is a five.
A five. One, two, three, four, five. So we are going to be making a huge monster.
Nice.
All right, next roll a d12. We're going to pick what kind of monster it is, but we are cutting out beast and humanoid because those are kind of boring.
12.
A 12. We are making a huge undead.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
All right. Next, I'm going to have you roll a d20. But if you roll a 1, we're going to roll something else. If you roll a 20, we're going to roll something else. Because this is going to determine what CR we are building.
All right. 9.
9. Uh, where is I'm They updated this recently. There you go. 9. All right. So we are building a huge undead CR9 monster. So either flip a coin.
Got a coin.
Heads is yes, tails is no. Is this creature a spellcaster?
Tails.
So it is not a spellcaster. All right. So we are building, so we need a huge undead CR9 that does not have spellcasting abilities. Um, roll a D6 again.
5.
Okay, so this is gonna have a 25 walking speed. Um, roll me a D4.
2.
Okay. It's going to have two other speeds. Would you like it to have a burrow speed, climb speed, fly speed, or swim speed? I will let you pick.
I will say burrow and fly. Let's get devious.
All right. So it has wings and it has claws. All right. Next, let's roll some stats. Roll me. Let's use a D20. Roll me
D20.
six of them
Okay.
and tell me the numbers.
Six, 60 20s. Okay. First one is an 18.
Okay?
Next one, oop, let's cock a 1,
Perfect.
a 9. By the way, do you want me to write are you writing them down or?
I'm writing them down.
Okay, so 18, 1, 9, and the next one's a 14.
Okay?
Next one, that's a 4. Last one, 11.
All right. So let's give, we're gonna put these mostly in order that they rolled. Um,
One dex.
I'm gonna up that to a 3
Okay.
because this thing's gonna be big and bulky, but it needs
Yeah, I was gonna say
at
a
least
one
some,
dex, just like it
yeah,
it
it's a 3.
moves and yeah,
I'm gonna
it
switch
moves and it automatically just falls.
I'm gonna switch the con and intelligence because of how big it is.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be dumb. It's so this is probably some type of undead beast. Okay. Um, let's give it proficient in strength and charisma. Um,
They
roll
blinded or
three.
wait, go ahead.
Roll 2d8s.
8, 4, and 1.
Okay. So it is immune to exhaustion and paralysis. Roll. Based on that, let's give it athletics, proficiency, and deception. Um, roll 12, 15. Roll 2d8 twice.
2 and 8 for the first,
Okay.
3 and 1 for the second.
You said 3 and 1.
Yep.
Okay. So this thing is vulnerable to bludgeoning damage and bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from attacks that aren't made with adamantine. So it's resistance to adamantine, but it's also
Nice.
resistance to cold and poison. And actually roll two more. Let's make this thing weird.
5 and 1.
Reroll the 1.
6.
Okay. Uh, okay. So it's also immune to force damage and thunder damage.
Oh, this is a warlock's worst nightmare.
This is a lot of people's worst nightmare. Um, all right. Uh, flip. Actually, roll a D100.
E100. That would be a 16. Hey, praise the 16.
All right. It has dark vision, but that is its only extra sense. So it's not gonna have true sight or anything like that, because otherwise the thing's gonna be ridiculous. Um, all right. Um, so we're gonna give it an attack. We're gonna give it multi-attack because it's the CR9. Um, and then let's give it, what was it? It's deception and athletics. Let's give it another ability. Let's give it berserk.
Uh, turn with hit points or fewer. Yeah, okay.
Oh, and we need to give it undead fortitude because it is undead.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it doesn't look like it has it. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So it makes two attacks with uh reach. Let's not give it reach. 5 feet, one
Well, it's a
target.
huge creature, so why not give it 10 foot?
Makes sense to me. Uh it's +4. Let's give it +8 to hit. 10-foot reach, one target. On a hit, let's do 4d4 plus 4 damage. Sounds like it would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Add action. Add. Why aren't you adding? Weird.
All right.
Okay. Um, great. So now, based on all of that, it can dig, it can fly. It's got a high strength, high con. It's dumb, kind of cute. It's undead. It's big. It's good at hiding. It can't be exhausted or paralyzed. It's resistance to cold and poison, but it's vulnerable to bludgeoning and adamantine attacks, which makes sense for undead, but it's immune to force and thunder. What does that say in your head?
Feel like it's an undead chimera.
Okay.
Like that this is something that is just an abomination and undead.
That's pretty close to where I was going. I was thinking some kind of undead giant cat, like winged cat, but an undead
Yeah.
chimera also totally fits. So let's real quick generate some art for this real quick. Um, we're going to use AI because we're moving quickly here, people. Um, so let's do, uh, how do you spell chimera?
Chimera.
Well, I spelled it with K first time, and so that would have been weird. Although I will say, sometimes spelling stuff wrong gets you closer to what you actually want when you use Midjourney.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at this thing and it's like it it can be a really nasty creature. Again, this is the bane of warlocks, that force damage immunity. Um it's like you need a sword for slashing damage or a dagger or arrows could work, but no hammers,
Well, it's
no
it's
warhammer.
it's vulnerable to bludgeoning, so you want to hit it with a hammer.
But most players by fighting a CR9 creature usually have magic weapons at that point.
Right.
That's the deception because it's well, it says bludgeoning that isn't adamant. Wait. So no, I sorry, I misread that. So it's vulnerable to that. So yeah, you would want war hammers, whether they're magical or non-magical, as long as they're just not made out of adamantine.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. This doesn't have wings, but it doesn't necessarily need them to fly. I like this picture.
All right. The anticipation.
Uh,
Here we go.
actually,
Drum
roll
roll.
one more thing. Roll a D20.
A D20. Here we go. 15.
Perfect. Where
Oh, and it has
is...
plate armor on top of that.
Well, fifth... Oh, plate's 18, right?
Uh, that I don't know.
We're gonna go natural armor.
Sorry,
That's
natural
what we're
armor.
gonna call it.
15.
So that was to see what its AC was. Or its base
Would
AC.
would have been hilarious if I rolled a one.
Yeah. Anybody can kill this thing. You just got to look at it.
Right?
Okay. So I am going to bring onto the screen the image that I just downloaded. What do you think of this?
Ooh, yeah, that is an interesting uh rendition of it. L Wait, okay. Sorry, I was just a little bit like it zoomed down, then zoomed
Yeah,
back up.
I
So
didn't mean to do that.
yeah, no worries. But yeah, looks good. I think this is a fun monster for things.
So what
A
do you want to call it?
an undead chimera.
Give it a better name. Let's,
Like creature name, or are we talking about just like a monster name?
yeah, a creature name, monster name. Let's give it, so it is an undead chimera, but it's more of like the lion part of it. So what about
Like, if we're talking about like a creature name, Elgios, Elgeos. It's the first thing that came to my mind. So just as a name, it was an experiment of a um or not an experiment. It was killed during the Giant Wars, and then it because it had unfinished business and he was just so upset and everything, it came back to life. Similar to how, like, if you kill a lot of humans, their skeletons may raise up because of the ambient negative energy with the shadow weave. So, same
Yeah,
idea. Elgios was the name of the chimera when it was alive, and now it is an undead version of itself. So, Elgios the undead chimera.
awesome. Um, okay. It's not wanting to add the attack, but I will finish this up later and send you the stat block for
Nice.
it. And for anybody watching, I will publish this once it's cleaned up on our um, socials
Yeah.
for people. If anybody wants to use it, feel free. Um, but we'll get this posted and yeah, I think it'll be a fun one, and I'm sure some people will find it, use it, and enjoy it.
I think so too. It's
Um,
got a lot of bite to it. It is a glass cannon with 42 hit points,
yeah,
but it,
it's but that's the thing. Most undeads are glass cannons like that. It's very rare to find them that are thick boys.
yeah.
So, but that
So,
also balances out with the fact that this thing is a beast. So,
yep. So this is fun. I'm excited. I'll see where I can insert Elgios into the story. Maybe some other hero will slay this undead chimera.
yeah, awesome. Well, we're out of caffeine.
Yep.
I think
It's
that's a
out
good time to call
caffeine.
it.
Time to call it. So this was great. Thank you, Chaos, for having me.
Yeah,
And
thanks for
yeah,
coming.
looking forward to
And
more caffeines and calamities.
yep. Thanks everybody for watching Caffeine and Calamities, and we'll see you guys again in a couple of weeks, and maybe we'll have another special guest then. So, all
Yep.
right, take care, everybody.